Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in the well of the Congress of the United States of America as a proud, liberated Democrat. A liberated Democrat, by my definition, is one that can not only speak truth to power, but can also speak about power. So I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to honor and celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And in so doing, I want to encourage persons to not only read the masterpiece that Dr. King wrote when he was in the Birmingham jail, but also read the letter that he was responding to. This letter was written by 8 persons, in my opinion, none of whom were bigots, none of whom taught or preached hate. 8 persons who were of the religious community, 8 persons who were beyond reproach, high moral standards, impeccable character. You need to read the letter that Dr. King was responding to, the letter that was written by 8 members of the clergy. And when you read this letter, as you go through it, you'll get to the last paragraph. I shall read the last paragraph, an excerpt from it, if you will, not in its entirety. But I shall read an excerpt from the last paragraph. And then I want to contemporize the excerpt from the last paragraph. Read it in its entirety. Read it in its entirety. Read the letter from the Birmingham jail. But my friends, please read the letter that he was responding to. If you do not read this letter, you cannot totally appreciate the message that Dr. King was conveying. Here is what I shall read as an excerpt. It reads, "When rights are consistently denied, a cause should be pressed in the courts and in negotiations among local leaders, and not in the streets." I just want to contemporize that sentence. In the courts. Let somebody else take care of this problem. There are other people who are prepared for this. They know best how to handle this. Let someone else do what we could take upon ourselves the duty to do. Let someone else be responsible for liberty and justice for all. Let someone else be responsible for government of the people, by the people, for the people. Let someone else do it. Contemporizing this language. Let the special prosecutor do it. The special prosecutor will give us a decision that we can appreciate, that we can take forth, that we can then claim has given us the foundation to do something significant. Mr. Speaker, these were persons of honorable standing, great stature, meant well, but they wanted to let someone else do what they themselves could have had a hand in doing. Mr. Speaker, Dr. King was a man who believed that bigotry and hatred must be confronted, and he understood this one basic premise: those who will tolerate bigotry and hatred, they will do very little to change it. They will find reasons why they can't change bigotry and hatred when given the opportunity. There's always an excuse. It won't be the Good Samaritan response. If I don't help people who are being discriminated against, who are being kicked off of jobs because they're LGBTQ, who can't get loans because of their ethnicity, because of religiosity, invidious religiosity, I might add, they're being barred, banned. They won't look to see what's happening to them. What they will do is ask, what will happen to me if I step out there and try to help them? I don't think they are persons of ill will. I think that they are persons who mean well. But I ask people to understand the context of this time by understanding and reviewing the context of the time that Dr. King lived in, and review that letter from the Birmingham jail, the masterpiece, but also read the letter that he was responding to. Those who will tolerate bigotry will do little to change it. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Duncan, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much.